Video, we're going to talk about the render events. These are the events that show up here on the Events tab that all have the word render in them, and these events let you modify the HTML that gets emitted by the server when the grid executes. So let's go ahead now and take a look at some of these events here. So the first event that I'd like to talk about is onTitles render. And this event fires when the grid titles are rendered on the server. So Alpha 5 computes the grid titles, but before it injects the computed HTML into the output stream, it gives you a crack at making some changes. And you can see here from the description in the event handler that you can set these three properties in your event handler: HTML prefix, HTML suffix, and e.javascript. So you can see here we've set HTML prefix and we've added this HTML in. So we've added in something that says that this HTML has been injected before the title row, and we've set a col span equal to 10. Although that we just picked an arbitrary number that was going to be large enough to cover all the columns in the grid. If we wanted to actually compute a value based on how many columns there really were in the grid, we could have used these two system properties over here basically to help us determine what value to set for col span, but I just took a shortcut here. So let's go ahead now, and then also the suffix, which is going to show up after the titles, is computed over here. And so let's go ahead now and go into working preview, and you can see here are my grid titles over there, and then before the grid titles we've injected this HTML over there, and then after the grid titles we've injected this HTML, which includes a button, and when I click that button I get the JavaScript event firing. So if we go back to design mode here, you'll see that not only did we, in the suffix, which appears after the grid titles, not only did we inject this HTML here, which just is a sort of a static title, but we also inserted a button over there, and we said that when the button is clicked, the JavaScript function called function1 is going to be called, and then in the e.javascript property we actually defined what function1 was. So not only did we inject some HTML into the output stream in this event, we also injected some JavaScript as well that was going to be called by this button. And you can see here that we used a placeholder for the grid style, so that at runtime grid.style will be replaced by whatever style this grid uses, whether that be glass olive or glass blue or Arizona or whatever style name you want to use. So this is one of the built-in placeholders that you can use in your HTML. So let's go ahead now again and look at the preview. So you can see there's the code, the HTML that was injected before titles, after titles, and the JavaScript. So now let's continue looking at other events. On before existing rows render. This fires before any of the existing rows. So this is an editable grid, so it contains both existing rows and new record rows. So this is displayed once before all of the existing rows. On existing row render, I'm going to just uncomment those over there because there's so many of them now. So on existing row render, this fires before each existing row is rendered and after each existing row is rendered. Then after existing rows, plural, this fires after all of the existing rows have been rendered. Then this fires here on before new rows renders. This fires before any of the new record rows have been rendered. And again, in all of these cases you could also inject JavaScript as well by setting that property over there. And this event fires after all of the new record rows have been rendered. So let's go ahead now and take a look at how this grid looks. So you can see now it looks quite complex because we've injected so much HTML into it. So let's pause right now and pick it up in the next video.